Bradley Beal decided to sign with the Los Angeles Clippers. And I think that was more talked about as the most likely destination, especially after Norman Powell was traded to the Miami Heat. There was a void there that needed to be filled. My question to you, Dan, is can Bradley Beal repair his image, I guess, or his standing in the league? Because it's kind of confusing, because I think the reason he wanted to leave Phoenix was because he didn't like his role. At one point he was reduced to a bench role. He was the third wheel. And I'm pretty sure when he goes to the Clippers, he's going to have a pretty similar role. He can still play on ball. He's still going to soak up some usage, but it's still not going to be to the tune of James Harden and Kawhi Leonard if they're both healthy. So what do you see Bradley Beal at this phase of his career kind of rebuilding this image? Like, how do you feel he's going to impact the Clippers in totality? Or is this going to be more of the same we've seen from Beal at every destination he's been in the last couple of tours?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because the last year was, I think it was 22% usage. It was the lowest usage rate of his career. And I don't think that's going to go up in the Clippers ecosystem, given the number of capable creators and finishers around there. Like I think that's bears watching. It's also, though, interesting. Like, it feels like everyone thinks that Bradley Beal sucks now.
Right.
And
he's been quietly very efficient over the last few seasons.
Yeah, like
50, 40, 90.
Yeah, 2 years in Phoenix, and it's 17.6 points per game, about 4 assists, 4 rebounds on 50, 40, 81 shooting. Like,
yeah,
I mean, it ain't bad work if you can get it. I think the issue is you need, in order to rehabilitate your image, it's not enough to just produce. And it's not enough to just produce in the regular season. I think in order for people to return to viewing Bradley Beal as like a star, which is unfortunate. The unfortunate thing for him is not his fault. He got paid as much money as he could possibly be paid and got a no trade clause because the Wizards were like, we don't know what the future looks like without you. And then as it turned out, the future looked grim without him, but they're at least now moving toward constructing something. Through no fault of his own, he said, yes, please pay me as much money as possible and give me the control over what happens in my career. And then people were like, oh, now you're a bum. And so now he's going to make $5 million a year. And if he does what he's done the last 2 years for $5 million a year, he's going to be considered the greatest contract in the history of the league, right? So, but in order for his rehabilitation to happen, in terms of his reputation around among fandom, he's got to do something he hasn't done since 2017, which is be on a team that wins a playoff series. I think, like, if Bradley Beal goes into the first round of the playoffs and he either's like, and the Clippers lose again, I think we wind up going like, right, Bradley Beal is not somebody who is a meaningful player when it comes to impacting winning on the highest stages of the sport, which is a really dramatic shift from what it looked like early in Bradley Beal's career. Like, I'm old enough to remember those early Wizards teams with him and John Wall, where they were ripping and running against the Bulls. And, if not for a broken hand, they might have beaten the Hawks. And like, these teams were on the upswing in large part because Beal looked like a dog in those series. A guy you could say he's going to guard and he's going to be a 3-level scoring problem for whatever defense you throw out there. And like, the glass half full look is he hasn't played alongside a table-setting point guard like John Wall was then since John Wall, and he's got James Harden now. And James Harden reportedly, I think Brian Windhorst had it at ESPN, like, Harden was really adamant about the recruiting of Bradley Beal to get him in the door. I mean, one of the most frequent assist combinations in the entire NBA last season was Harden to Norm Powell. I think he knows how good it can be to have a shooter with a sweet stroke coming off pin downs, coming off screens, someone that you can set up to be able to come around those curls, get downhill, get to the rim, which Beal can still do at a really high level and finish at the cup at a really high level. So it's going to be about whether it's alongside Harden or playing the second units with like Bogdan Bogdanovic or playing off of Kawhi, whatever, he's going to have to get in where he fits in on the offensive end. And it's not going to be at the top of the pecking order. But if he's able to produce with the kind of efficiency and the kind of reduced role that if he replicates roughly what Powell did last year, I mean, Powell was a near all-star on a 50-win team.
He was, yeah.
If Brad Beal's that, I think everybody's awfully happy with the way this worked out. And then, like as always is the case with the Clippers, it's wait and see until April, because I think they have not yet earned the benefit of the doubt when you get to that point. But they've done whatever they can this postseason, or this offseason rather, to put themselves in position to at least make another deep run.
Yeah, the combination for me with Beal, it's not whether he performs in the playoff setting. I just need him to be healthy. And it's the same issue with every Clippers player. We don't know what Kawhi Leonard is really, how many games he's going to play. Like, he looked amazing when he came back after the All-Star break. And maybe that's going to be the formula going forward. And if that's the case, getting Bradley Beal in there is a really good floor-raising opportunity if he can stay healthy. Like, he hasn't managed to play 60 games once, I think, in the last 4 seasons. It's always just been the Achilles heel of him, is that he just can't stay on the court. So, but I love what the Clippers did in the offseason. They acquired John Collins. They got Brook Lopez. Now they brought in Bradley Beal for $5 million a year. Do you think that they're the third best team in the West? How high, what ceiling do you give them right now?
I feel like if you're watching on YouTube, you saw my face instantly scrunch up at the notion of third. You
don't put them over Denver yet.
No, I mean, you mean a Denver team that just beat them in the first round of the playoffs and then got better? Yeah, no, I don't see that. Now, granted, I mean, the Clips were an Aaron Gordon buzzer beater away from being up in that series. So it all turns on a trifle, right? It always has. But I look at the nature of the Western Conference at this point. Like, obviously, everybody's playing for second behind Oklahoma City right now. Yeah, that's, you're the champs and you earned that respect.
Yep.
Are you taking them over the Rockets with KD?
No.
You taking them over the Nuggets after they've I guess if Jonas Valanciunas actually remains in America, that's an important one. But
it is.
You bring in Cam Johnson, you bring in Tim Hardaway Jr., you've added shooting and movement and playmaking. Bruce Brown back. More depth for a team that was like 4 dudes deep by the end of the playoffs last year, and still has the best player on the planet. Do you feel like they're definitely better than the Timberwolves that has gone to 2 straight Western Conference Finals? That the last time Bradley Beal was in the playoffs, Anthony Edwards summarily exited him from the playoffs, ushered him out stage left with no mercy. So I mean, all that to say, as is always the case with the Clippers, and it's why, my friend Michael Pina from The Ringer, every year he's Charlie Brown with the football with the Clippers, and the Clippers are just Lucy waiting to yank it away from him. But if you can tell me that they're going to get to mid-April and all these dudes are healthy, then, I mean, what's not to like about a team that can go 10 deep with legitimate, multi-talented, versatile, deep players that can play 2 bigs, that can play no bigs, that can play 4 guards, that can have multiple guys handle and create, that can, have Bradley Beal be your third option, that can, play Nick Batum as a switch everything 5. There's all these different ways they can play. But it requires you to be like, I believe that Kawhi Leonard's going to be ready to go in April, May, and June. It requires me to believe that James Harden's going to be there in the last 5 minutes of a close game. It requires me to believe that Bradley Beal's going to be there in the last 5 minutes of a close game. It requires me to believe that I think that they will wind up being probably the oldest roster adjusted for, weighted by age in the NBA. So minutes adjusted, right? That's what I mean. Weighted for minutes that are expected to be played in the NBA. It's asking a lot. And so I'm not going to judge and say, forget them. But to me, they are in that cluster of, I think it's OKC, I think it's Houston, I think it's Denver, and then I kind of think it's everybody else. They're going to need to show and prove that they deserve to be up above, not just, those teams that we talked about, but also the Lakers and the Warriors, right? They're maybe even a shot out of a Cannon Spurs team. I don't know. There's a thick middle class, I think, between 3 and 8, 3 and 9.
Right.
And I think the Clippers have done what they can to put themselves in position to rise to the top of that tier. But I don't know, man. I gotta maybe I'm a hater, but maybe I'm just being prudent. I kind of need to see it to believe it.